The Center for Gender Studies in Agriculture and Farm Entrepreneurship Development of the university has been organizing the endowment lectures since 2006. As we celebrate the Golden Jubilee year of KU, we have organized the endowment lecture as a series of 4 lectures on organizational and social development. These lectures provide a platform for the KU fraternity to listen to and interact with eminent scholars in areas crucial for agriculture sector and its development. Kerala Agriculture University is honored today by the presence of Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, former Director, ICAR-NIAP, New Delhi, and former National Coordinator, ICAR-NAIP, for delivering the first lecture of the 16th Dr. K.N. Shyamasundran Nair Memorial Lecture Series on Transforming Organizations the Way Forward. We apologize for the inconvenience to our respected guest speaker and participants due to the deviation of the lecture from its original schedule. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. R. Chandrababu, the guiding force in organizing this event, is unable to join the session today due to unavoidable official commitments. Let me now invite Dr. Jyoti ML, Assistant Director of Research, Kerala Agriculture University, for the welcome address and to introduce the guest speaker to the audience. Madam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Deepthi. I hope I am audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and my teachers and my beloved colleagues. And it's my duty to introduce the most eminent speaker of the day, as well as welcome you all for this meeting today. So, before starting my duty, let me pay my respects to the departed soul of Dr. K.N. Shyamasundran Nair, who was a former Vice Chancellor of Kerala Agriculture University. And I don't think he needs much introduction among the fraternity of KAU. And I had an opportunity, and I feel I was lucky to have worked with him when he was a Vice Chancellor of Kerala Agriculture University. His approach was different, and he was in the field, and he used to come to the research station, stay with us, and discussion at length. And he used to have discussions at length on the various aspects of agriculture, and mostly he was concentrating on what are all the reformations that we can make in this agriculture and make it more friendly and make it most easy for people to accept our innovations or whatever research outcome that we are making, and move it to for making the mission friendly attitude. I take this opportunity to remember him and share him with you all. Now, coming to my duty of introducing the chief guest of the day, and our most beloved and respected Dr. Mruthyunnjaya. Everyone knows, because all of us had an opportunity to work under his guidance and the National Agriculture Innovation Project during the period 2005 to 2009. And you all know Dr. Mruthyunnjaya has meritorious academic records, right from UG and PG in agriculture economics from US Bangalore, and his PhD from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. And his thesis has been award for the best thesis in agricultural economics. And he has started his career as an instructor at US Bangalore, and then he has moved on after scoring the ARS or achieving the ARS meritoriously. He started his career at IHR Bangalore, then at Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Jodhpur, and finally as principal scientist at Indian Agriculture Institute, New Delhi from the year 1983 to 1994. And from then on, up to 2000, he was ADG at ICAR, and then he was the director of the National Institute for Agriculture Economics and Policy Research. And he has his reputed career as a National Institute director there. He was also the national director of the National Agricultural Innovation Project from 2005 to 2009, a World Bank supported project, which I was mentioning about, where we all cooperated and we all had the guidance by our senior scientist of the country. He was a DDG in education from 2006. And apart from this official responsibilities, he was a consultant for many of the national and international bodies. He has traveled and he shared his experience in more than 23 countries. And apart from that, I must say that he was a very good teacher, guided so many students in MSc, in agricultural economics, and many good research papers to his credit. His policy reports, his trainings, everything is still a valuable document. And he's also a member of very prestigious national organizations, the National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, many awards to his credit. So it's very happy. We are very happy to have your presence to offer this lecture on transforming organizations the way forward. We know the agriculture, there are tremendous changes that is happening in agriculture, and we the scientists have a lot of responsibility to cope up with and guide with the changes, guide the farmers and also the budding scientists to how to cope up with the challenges and take agriculture as a main vocation for the country to come up. And also we know that agriculture is the backbone of the country. So this has a lot of importance, and I hope this topic will be of immense help to all the scientists and all participants. So may I take this opportunity to extend my hearty welcome to Mruthyunnjaya sir on behalf of Kerala Agriculture University as well as the organizers of this session. Thank you, sir, for being here with us on this day. As the introducer, Dr. Deepthi has said, there was a slight inconvenience, but I hope you were so great to accept that change, and you have, from yesterday it was shifted to this day. And thank you, sir, once again, and our apologies once again. I also take this opportunity to welcome our Director of Research, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, who is leading the research activities of the university in the most efficient manner. I welcome you, sir. And I welcome all the senior teachers. I find Dr. Peter sir here, Dr. Geeta Kuti madam, and Dr. Rashid Sulaiman, so many, all the agriculture scientists and students. I welcome you all for this session. And finally, all the organizers of the Center for Gender Studies, Dr. Binu, Dr. Smita, and once again, welcome you all to this very interesting session of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We feel honored to have with us the family of late Dr. Shyamasundran Nair in this session. We extend a warm welcome to all our respected guests. May I now request respected Director of Research, KAU, Dr. Madhu Subramanian, to kindly deliver the inaugural address. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Deepthi. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to all. Respected, the most distinguished guest of the day, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, Dr. Peter, Dr. K.V. Peter, former Vice Chancellor, Kerala Agriculture University, Dr. Geeta Kuti ma'am, both have been my own teachers. Dr. Geeta Kuti has been the former director of the Center for Gender Studies, and he has been instrumental in taking the center to its present heights. We have Dr. Rashid Sulaiman, a former employee under Dr. Mruthyunnjaya himself, and a very internationally renowned development scientist today, my own classmate. The Director of Extension, Dr. Jiju P. Alex, Dr. Binu P. Boni, Director of Center for Gender Studies, other distinguished guests, beloved members of the family of Dr. K. Shyamasundran Nair sir, my own former Vice Chancellor, indeed, other faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen. I feel really humbled today in the presence of this august luminaries like Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, Dr. Peter, Dr. Geeta Kuti, and Dr. Rashid. And I consider it a very privileged occasion as far as I am concerned to have been delegated this responsibility of inaugurating this 16th K.N. Shyamasundaran Nair's Memorial Endowment Lecture. The lecture we are flagging of today, we are flagging of the 16th edition. As already stated, we are flagging of the 16th edition of Dr. K.N. Shyamasundaran Nair's Memorial Endowment Lecture Series today, which has been religiously observed since 2006, a year after he left us for a 7-day board. I pay homages to the beloved memories of Dr. K.N. Shyamasundaran Nair, sir, a development economist by training and by profession, and one of the most beloved and respected vice chancellors of the Kerala Agriculture University. I have very limited opportunities of associating. I joined the university while he was the vice chancellor, and the only occasion of directly interacting with him was when I went for a 3-year leave, when I applied for a 3-year leave, and I got to get his approval. And he asked me, why are you leaving university for 3 years? I said I wanted to work as a development professional at the grassroots levels, and he was surprised and was all encouragement for the same, because he was a development economist. And so I carry very brief but very fond memories of my association with him. But I know through my colleagues like Dr. Jyoti all the time that how fondly we all remember the association. The Kerala Agriculture University fraternity remembers the leadership and guidance of Dr. Shyamasundaran Nair, sir. The series, if I remember right, like I said, the Center for Gender Studies has been one of the institutions that Dr. Shyamasundaran Nair, sir, fostered and developed it to help develop it to its present eminence. And it is the religious, and it is only as a memory of gratitude, as a token of gratitude and affection and the respect that we carry in Kerala Agriculture University to his warm memories, that we have been conducting this series with an almost religious, fervor and commitment. And the galaxy of speakers that have graced this lecture series from the past, including Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, Dr. Thomas Isaac, Dr. Rajan Gurukan, Dr. Taragan, Dr. Iqbal, so on and so forth. The list of illuminaries who have graced this lecture series every year is a testimonial to the kind of significance that Kerala Agriculture University attaches to the annual series, the endowment lecture series, in name of Dr. Shyamasundaran Nair, sir. And today we have Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, another stalwart in Indian economics and development studies, joining that long list of luminaries who have graced this occasion in the past. It is only apt that such a series be this series is like I said, is a token of our gratitude, because as a development economist, the gender dimensions have always been close to the development perspective of Dr. Shyamasundaran Nair, sir, and we are honored to have him as an eminent vice chancellor of our university. Today, we have Dr. Mruthyunnjaya will be talking about institutional challenges, transforming institutions the way forward. We have, I'm grateful to Dr. Mruthyunnjaya to have accepted our invitation to deliver this talk on this auspicious occasion, because Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, we cannot have many people with his experience and expertise and his credentials to talk about transformation of institutions in these days of flux. We know that research and academics are in a great, intellectually as well as organizationally, we are in a situation of flux. There are challenges that can be considered either stimulating or even intellectually unacceptable from different quarters. Academia is in a churn, and so also is our situation, the state of our public institutions, especially institutions of learning. Today morning, I have been attending another meeting. In fact, I'm taking part in another meeting concurrently as in an ICR meeting where it has been announced that a 20% cut in our research allocation has just been effected, and we should be ready for even more. So the kind of challenges that we face continue on the economic scale when academia need to, especially in a state like Kerala and in a country like India, where we are always been trying to catch up with the global standards. This kind of constraints are something that we need to, it may not be acceptable to us, but it's something that we need to take in our stride and move forward. And it is in this context that the presence of Dr. Mruthyunnjaya adds value to this today's function, because he has seen as a career scientist and as an administrator for the best part of his career, he has seen a lot, and he has helped institutions transform or steer through challenging times. And I am sure that Dr. Mruthyunnjaya's presentation today on transforming institutions and the way forward will have several key lessons for Kerala Agriculture University, which again, as the director of research, I can say with confidence that is going through a turbulent times. We are looking to leave our past, not that it is anything that we need to be worried about or anything that we are ashamed of. We have been privileged to have been guided through the last 50 years by a galaxy of eminent scientists, including Dr. Peter here. So, but these times are such that there has to be a pause from the break is indicated in the academic input as well as the our input, our contribution to the society. For the last 10 years or so, we have seen technology take a break from the past like never before. Digital technology has come to be all pervasive and has been contributing significantly and has shown that there is potential to contribute to many sectors, especially in an inclusive manner, and that includes agriculture. There are several technologies that the world has applied to improve the lots of the common farmer, but we need to develop and fine-tune them to suit our own local realities in a way that the farmer and the entrepreneurs are benefited. So those challenges we need to be growing to improve, to be inclusive. And again, academically, Kerala Agriculture University has to rise to the prominence that it had occupied earlier in the 80s and 90s, when it was one of the finest, rated as one of the best agriculture universities in the country. So these are challenging times, and we are constrained by fund flow, by human resource constraints, and so on and so forth. And we also have to, the reason that I am saying that Kerala Agriculture University is in a flux is not only in terms of recognition of the technological advances, but we are challenged, the Kerala farmer, as with his other Indian counterparts, is today challenged by the vagaries of climate like never before. Because climate change, something that we have been talking about for the last 20 years, is a depressing reality in the present environment. And unpredictability is one of the hallmarks that we are seeing right now. We are in the middle of a monsoon, and it has been dry for the best part of last fortnight. So this kind of vagaries, this kind of challenges is also have to be addressed by Kerala Agriculture University in its quest to serve the farming community in a better fashion. So we have challenges on the ground, we have organizational challenges, and it is in this context that I find Dr. Mruthyunnjaya's presentation today the most relevant one, as he is about to speak on. Without any further ado, I would like to extend formally my own thanks to Dr. Mruthyunnjaya for accepting our invitation, and my apologies at inconveniencing him through rescheduling of this presence. And I look forward to listen to him along with all of us. I also look forward to listen to him as he presents his topic. I humbly once again humiliated by the presence of all of you here, I declare that the 16th K.N. Shyamasundaran Nair Memorial Endowment Lecture as inaugurated, and I look forward to hearing from Dr. Mruthyunnjaya. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, sir, for inaugurating the session and for the thought-provoking words on our challenges and opportunities. With immense pleasure, we now request Dr. Mruthyunnjaya to kindly deliver the 16th Dr. K.N. Shyamasundaran Nair Memorial Lecture on Transforming Organizations, the Way Forward. Sir, please.
Hello. Good morning to all of you. Hello, you are listening to me?
Morning, sir. You are audible.
Okay, audible. Okay. Now, good morning to all of you. I am grateful to Kerala Agricultural University, particularly Dr. Chandrababu, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Director of Research, Dr. M. Subramaniam, Dr. Binu, and other officers for inviting me to deliver this prestigious Dr. K.N.S. Nair Memorial Lecture. I am beholden by the kind of personality Dr. K.N.S. Nair has left in terms of his kind of gratitude by the people that he gets is a symbolic representation of how he performed during his career, and I am highly privileged to deliver the memorial lecture as a tribute to him, as it is elaborately made. Dr. K.N.S. Nair was a kind of a distinguished development economist, eminent educationist, a planner, and an administrator, and above all, a great human being. About him, I will not go into the details because a lot of qualities of Dr. K.N.S. Nair has been already told by Dr. Jyoti, but definitely, and Dr. M. Subramanian, and definitely, I can only say that he is not just a person, but a personality, and not just an individual, but an institution by himself, an institution. So therefore, I have great pleasure in giving this lecture in his memory as a tribute to him and remembering him for all that has contributed to the development of the state, development of the profession, development of the university. Now, I also have personal regards to the family of Dr. K.N.S. Nair, whom I have not seen and talked, but definitely I have talked to Dr. K.N.S. Nair several times subsequent to he submitted thesis in 1972 at IRI, and I joined in 1973, and therefore I narrowly missed him as a fellow student at that point of time. But definitely he used to visit the division often and had the opportunity to speak to him and enjoy his wisdom and depth in the subject as well as his work. So without spending time on these prelude, I'm extremely grateful to the Director of Research in providing a prelude to my lecture in terms of the situation around both in KU as well as Kerala agriculture, as well as the nation at large. I think that, in fact, I was asked, I was requested to give a lecture on something else, but then I prefer to take this because, as Dr. Subramaniam has told, that if at all I am more comfortable in any subject, possibly on account of my experience of working in this area for long, in trying to institutionalize reforms in the national agriculture research system since 1995 is something which I would like to share with you through my slides and discuss with you if I have time later in case of any clarifications that are required to elaborate my point of view. These are all my point of view, and on my experience, I'm sharing with you as director of a ICR institution, as well as the national director of a mega project, wherein the partners were chosen across India. So all of them possibly have given me opportunities to learn agriculture research system and its strengths and weaknesses and ways to see that the reforms that we were trying to initiate and then implement were in a position to do it. So with these words, I would now move on to my lecture through a set of slides. I think 8 slides are there, and I would share them. I would like to share my as Dr. Subramaniam has told, we have chosen a topic: transforming organizations, the way forward. Now, as Dr. Subramaniam has most lucidly explained, transforming organizations, apart from other changes which are required or reforms required, is one of the ways to see many and complex can be addressed effectively. Now, you all know that organizations and institutions are lifeline of a country, powerhouse of a country. Decide the pace, means speed, pattern, arrangement or design, and power, influence or impact on agricultural development. You all know that policies, rhetorics like doubling farm income by 2022 or attaining an economy of 5 trillion by 2025, these are all rhetorics which are important but cannot deliver, or even acts like the recent acts framed by the central government in farm marketing sector do not deliver development gains to the people. It is the institutions which deliver the development gains to the people or to the community and the society at large. So therefore, institutions become the powerhouse of delivery to the people of the development gains, and therefore they are extremely important. Organizations or institutions are extremely important in a country like ours. A developing country, particularly ours, or even developed countries, institutions become important. Now, I will tell you about a small difference between organization and institution, because sometimes we use it interchangeably, but there is a subtle difference between organization and institution, as I have understood over years. Organization is just a group of people working to achieve a goal governed by rules and regulations. Now, this is what organizations mean. Here, to illustrate this, the organization in a more simple way, it is here people and organization look independent, separate. It is a kind of a system or a kind of a management or a group where they work between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. and can be called a mixture of people and their work. Just like in a chemistry lab, a mixture is defined as they can be separated easily, people and the institution and its goals. In other words, people earn the salary by working in an organization. So this is what I attach to the organization in terms of a place where people work to realize the organization goal. Now, as compared to that, what is this an institution? Formal organization or practices and behavior pattern of society where rules and regulations are internalized or imbibed into one's character, culture, traditions, customs and values, habits, skills. They become second nature. In other words, the institution, the organization or the institution and the people are inseparable because they have imbibed the culture, the character, the traditions, customs of the organization, and therefore they are not separable. In other words, in terms of the kind of comparison I made with a chemistry situation, here it is a compound. You cannot separate them easily and early. It requires a process to be followed if at all one intends to separate out the people from the institution, from the organization they have been there. So therefore, in that sense, institution is more, and in terms of institutional reward, the people here feel that people earn here job satisfaction. Besides salary they do earn, but here people derive job satisfaction. Because we hear often people telling that I work in that organization or institution and I derive job satisfaction at the end of the day. I'm quite satisfied, job satisfaction. Whereas in the organization, job satisfaction may not be there because we are not too much attached to the organization at that level. We have not graduated to become one with the organization and then become its partner of development, in which it is engaged. So therefore, there is a subtle difference between an organization and an institution, and therefore, how an institution gets evolved over years. Organizations evolves into an institution by virtue of its presence, and then seeing that the culture, character, traditions, and customs is imbibed, internalized by people who are working in that organization, becoming part of that organization, owning that organization as their own, and therefore contributing their might to realize the goals of that organization. So it takes time, maybe in the medium run, or in less than 5 years, and sometimes 8 years. It depends on several other things, but definitely an organization evolves into an institution wherein people own the organization as their own and they get job satisfaction. This is the litmus test that what is an institution should aim at the end of the day is that people working in that setup should derive job satisfaction. If they get it, then the institution flourishes. If they don't get, for some reasons, I cannot say at this point of time what makes them not getting that satisfaction at the end of the day by working in an institution, but definitely it is a litmus test for people to say that has it become an institution or is still remained as an organization act. I think this is what I feel is my way of looking at organization and institution and differentiating them, in terms of, and for example, now give some examples of such organizations or such institutions where we can see that kind of a belonging, where people own them as their own brand, their own organization, their own family in terms of workplace. For example, the benchmark institutions which can provide examples of such an institution can be Amul. It started in 1946 and still going strong. And the people working in that organization or institution, it is an institution because people own it. Amul is their ownership. The second is Grameen Bank of Bangladesh. People own it, and therefore they contribute their might to success of it. And then the third example is from your own state, Kutumbashree. The members own that it is an organization of their own, and therefore they don't let that organization go to failure at any cost. So therefore, Kutumbashree is such an organization, an institution, which has attained the status of an institution. Then, coming to agriculture research setup, agricultural research, institutions, I'm still convinced, because I have seen across agriculture research institutions, state agricultural universities and ICAR institutes till now, IRI, I feel still maintains this kind of a stature. And therefore, IRI can be given as one such institution where it is an institution of that kind where people feel that they are proud of being a worker in that organization or institution. Then, of course, there are international institutions which can be thought of: Harvard, MIT, Caltech, Stanford, and Yale. Or in our own system, that the general education research and science is IITs, Institute of Science, Bangalore. So like this, these are all the institutions who can be quoted as real institutions where people feel they are proud to work there. They are proud to be working there. So like this, I think what I am just telling is that, we as workers and leaders in these institutions should aim at seeing that whether these benchmarks can provide us guidelines or guidance to work for the institution to see that it attains that greatness as early as possible and then continuously as possible. Because that is also another great kind of a task that is with us, that it is not for 1 or 2 years, it is continuously, perpetually. I think that's kind of a challenge to people who are working in institutions. Now, this role of such institutions is enormously increasing for various challenges, as I said, multiple and complex challenges, some of which were very ably explained by the Director of Research, M. Subramanian, that you are facing, the country is facing, all other states are facing. So therefore, if we have to address those challenges effectively, possibly we have to see that answers, solutions from such institutions, because as I already mentioned, policies, rhetorics, acts, and laws cannot deliver what the people want finally, farmers want finally, science wants finally, education wants finally. So therefore, it is on our shoulders as part of the institution where we are earning our bread and butter, we have to return it. And I would be more elaborating it a little later, but at this time, I would be just flagging it, that how important is the institution and how important is you, the worker, each worker working in an organization, how important you are. Now, coming to R&D institution, as I said that, I was talking about organization institutions in general. I would now coming to R&D institutions, and Dr. Subramaniam has told that it's very important for sustainable agricultural development, raising the income of farmers, minimizing the cost of the consumers. It's a balancing between consumers and producers, and also providing overall setup to provide the sustainable development goals and deliver them effectively. Agricultural research for development institutions are special institutions for promoting research, education, and extension in agriculture and agri-food systems to achieve the sustainable agricultural developments, which are 17 in nature. I'm not in number. I'm not going into the details, but definitely they all include zero hunger, no poverty, and no hunger, and all that. There are several other things, 17 of them. Now, these institutions are special institutions because we have special responsibilities, because these institutions are formed on account of on the basis of land grant college system, institutional system of US, where research, extension, and education are seamlessly integrated. And therefore, we have the responsibility to see the seamless, because the farmer does not it does not believe, or is not dependent on only one part of the system. He needs everything in one go. So therefore, we need to see that the seamless integration of these two constituents of an agriculture research institution are integrated, seamlessly integrated to deliver what the farmer wants, what the industry wants, what the consumer wants. So therefore, I think this is an onerous responsibility on us, not by building our own empires in education, because I do not have much of contribute to make in research, and I cannot do much in extension. No, it is not so, because they are interdependent, and therefore you have to concentrate on them. Now, second one is, institutions should have high degree of passion. The people working in those institutions, commitment and competence to grow and adapt to changing times and needs. Now, as Dr. Subramaniam, I'm often quoting him because he has effectively flagged the issues in the context of Kerala agriculture and the KAU in particular, in terms of addressing the challenges that are to be addressed as early as possible. Now, for example, these are all kind of attributes or attitudes: passion, commitment, and competence. And these need to be our partners in addressing these challenges. And these challenges are increasing in a geometric progression and with more complexity, and therefore we have to adapt to changing times and needs of the farmers. Now, for example, as he was mentioning, that the climate change and its effect on Kerala agriculture in the last 5 years is something unprecedented. With all those kind of preparations that the system had, it could not able to face these challenges effectively, and therefore Kerala agriculture now needs attention from all these angles, complex challenges, and therefore the institutions, the people working in these institutions have to have passion for work. As I said, that is what actually is the mantra, which I would be telling later also, that the passion, commitment, and competence. And competence is something which we need to be sure with always while seeing that we acquire it and then nurture it, and to see that we promote it. So therefore, to address the changing times, as now we have seen the pandemic time and the subsequent, and the pandemic time is not still over, it is continuing, and the needs of the people, the farmers who have suffered the most, the immigrant laborers who have suffered a lot, employment is at the lowest. So therefore, these are all challenges that we need to address together, and how, as agricultural scientists, we can look at them as opportunities for our work. Now you can see there is a saying, if you want to predict the prosperity of farmers, look at the institutions serving them, whether functional or delivering. A point which I have made, that it becomes very important that whether the institutions that we have with us are serving well. For example, I would be making a point here. I think the Kerala government, I have read it, is contemplating to bring in, on account of these climate changes and all those bad time during the last 5 years, would like to organize agricultural development through agroecology based systems, clusters. Now it is contemplating structural and functional review of Department of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare as an institution, main institution, which has to deliver to these changing needs in terms of agroecology perspective, farming systems perspective, farming clusters perspective. So therefore, they are thinking about, and something has already been talked about in their next 5-year plan, Kerala 5-year plan, that there would be 5 agroeco zones, 23 agroecology units, and 20 agroecology management units. So I think these are all some kind of a plan that the Kerala government is thinking about. This is a major structural change that is contemplated to address this kind of a climate change scenario in the state particularly. Now, with that kind of a change coming up, possibly, as I made it in my earlier point, changing time and needs of the development department, needs of the government. Now we have to tune ourselves, and if it is thinking about Kerala Agricultural Department, naturally, the partners are Kerala Agricultural University, one of the major providers of research outputs, research inputs to the system on agroecology basis. So you may have it. Now it has to be what is called dovetailed to see that this is done, so that the needs of the state, the needs of the government are met effectively to deliver agroecology based planning and implementation system to the state. And therefore, it is important to see that whether the development department, the agricultural university, and the other institutions who are dealing with agriculture in the state are tuned or oriented to deliver this kind of a change in need of the state, I think is a question that is before all of us, and particularly KAU in this context. And then I think you may be more knowing about it, because I have just read it, that the Kerala government's plan to reorganize the State Agricultural Development Department. Now, you have to consider public support institutions is now linked to the relevance and competitiveness. This is the, as you know, as already told by Subramaniam, that there is the state government. The university has, he has attended a kind of a meeting with ICR telling that 20% cut in the budget would be there this year. So therefore, this kind of a cut comes, and this is the general cut, and therefore all spending units have to bear this kind of cuts. This is one scenario. Second scenario is, for example, the ICR's development grants to the state agricultural universities now are linked to the agricultural university ranking system, status of each agricultural universities. And then, they are told they would be linked to the development grants to the state agricultural universities will be, related to the, kind of a ranking in the agricultural university set up in the country. Now, for example, I was just looking at the previous 3 results of agriculture university ranking system that has taken place in the last 3 years. Now, Kerala Agriculture University was 26th rank in 2017, 34th rank in 2018. 2019, of course, it has improved to the 19th position. And the next ranking for 2020 is about to start. ICR is about to start. We would be discussing with you the pro forma and other details soon. So therefore, this kind of ranking agricultural university to link funding with your agenda and competitiveness is very much written on the wall. And therefore, we need to be careful about when and managing these institutions of us to see that we rank high and then get enough funding from the funding agencies. This is one aspect which I am talking about. So the institution is challenged to see that it performs well, competitive, remains competitive, and also relevant to the people, relevant to the farmers. Now, coming to, in fact, there is a kind of a competitive relevance index that is being now computed to see that whether the university or any other institution meets those needs or not, and on that basis, funding is channelized. Now, another point which I would like to immediately state is being good is not enough. Should be great, the best, that too continuously. Because otherwise, your opportunities to get funding would be curtailed to that extent that you would be missing the bus. So therefore, it is a continuous struggle for maintaining your place or position in impressing the funding agency and other agencies to get resources and recognition. So therefore, it is important that even in R&D institutions working for agriculture, we have the same challenges of working for excellence in everything, research, extension, and education. So these are all, and I think you are a partner in National Agricultural Education, Higher Educational Project. I think there are a lot of such kind of initiatives that is helping you to build yourself to remain competent and relevant. Now, I will be going little more details as to how to plan for transforming R&D institutions to remain great continuously or perpetually. Because these are all my experience I am sharing, having worked in institutions, in IRI initially, and then NIAP, National Institute of Agricultural Economics and Policy Research later, where I had the privilege to work with Dr. Rashid I always remember his contributions to NIAP in the initial years. And then I worked in a national agricultural technology project initially, and then national agricultural innovation project up to my retirement stage. So therefore I had the occasion to be a part of initiating reforms in the national agriculture research system, and therefore I'm talking from that angle. Now, pending reforms, competitive pressures, falling funding support, and rising expenditure. This is one point, this set of points that we need to be guarded against. Pending reforms, I tell you, ICR for the last 40 years, since 1998, has brought in National Agriculture Research Project, Agricultural Human Resource Project, National Agricultural Technology Project, National Agricultural Innovation Project, and now National Agricultural Higher Education Project. All these projects together, ICR has spent 6,200 crores on national agricultural system to reform. I tell you, the hidden agenda of all these projects is to see that the national agriculture research system comes of age, to see that they get reformed and these reforms get mainstreamed to the national system, so that even with the exit of these projects, the system becomes self-confident, self-dependent on continuing those reforms, because it has accepted those reforms would make them better work. So with those, the pending reforms, but I tell you honestly, we have evaluated what is the effect of or impact of these reforms in the national system. To my surprise, that the system, no doubt, adopted them till the project was working. But at the moment the project got exited, the system became original. There is not much change in the system in terms of executing these reforms in research, administration, and finance, including monitoring, evaluation, and impact assessment of our initiatives. So therefore, pending reforms is something we need to worry about and see that they get enough attention, that we would take them seriously and implement them, and not only implementing them, seeing that they follow-up is taken place, and we mainstream them to our national system so that they become part of our system subsequently, the reformed system. Competitive pressures, I think the pressures which Dr. Subramanian was telling is all already there. It is a competitive pressures from the peer. As I said, if you become a part of the agricultural university ranking system, you would be competed with other agricultural universities in the country. So therefore, you have to compete with your peers. You have to compete with others in terms of addressing the challenges, because the project funding is based on how you are managing the research portfolio and how your research projects can be funded through competitive funding. So I think these are all competitive pressures of climate change, employment, productivity increases, exports, maintaining exports, marketing pressures, and ensuring farmers better prices. So these are all important pressures that are coming up in multiple manners, and therefore we need to address them. And therefore your ability to see that these competitive pressures are addressed adequately and timely becomes very important. Falling funding support, I think the case is already made by Subramaniam in telling that signals come often in terms of that cutting short our budget. Even the approved budgets would get cut on account of these extraneous changes taking place, exigencies that often come. And the funding support is very much there with every institution, including ICR institutions are spared. State agricultural universities, the funding support from the state, the project funding support from this ICR and all that is all falling. Now, in terms of the agricultural GDP, we are spending very much less on funding support to agricultural research and education and extension system. Not even 1% of agricultural GDP. We have been always arguing that it should be at least 2%, at least 1%, because we are at the moment 6.7%. So that's all that is the funding that comes, and that gets cut in between, as we are now experiencing. So therefore, it is too meager resources to meet the agenda, which is becoming more complex and more expanded. And raising expenditure on which we don't have control. I was looking at the expenditure in the last 5 years of Kerala Agricultural University. Where you are spending. It is the universal phenomena which I am telling. Nearly 80% of your budget goes for salary, pension, and the wages. And how much is left for other work? For example, research materials I was looking at, it is less than 3%. And if you want to raise the efficiency of your research, education, quality of education, and timeliness and credible agro-advisory services to the farmers, how much you can spend? Where do you spend? I think these are all challenges we need to be aware of and see that we need to meet them. Otherwise, our relevance becomes much more questionable, and we would be at the receiving end in terms of all these pressures. Now, I should say most institutions are wired for mediocrity. Only a third stay good for long, even fewer for many years. Now, I should say, it is our nature that we like status quo because it is more comfortable, more convenient to us. We don't want to change. In fact, sometimes we refuse to change. So therefore, I think this mentality of loving status quo status is though convenient to you. In other words, we are more towards meeting our personal agenda than the institutional agenda or the professional agenda. In fact, institutions which I have seen where the people in those institutions, if on an average, are prioritizing 70% of their attention to the professional agenda, institutional agenda, 30% only to the personal agenda, those institutions remain good, sometimes even great, but those institutions were spending, their time not balancing both professional and personal agenda of people who are working for such institutions. I have seen, because this is the analysis we did, why institutions fare and why institutions do not fare. And therefore, our analysis says, if you are balanced or misbalanced in terms of balancing personal, I don't recommend that personal agenda need to be sacrificed completely. You need to do it because your family is equally important. But I tell you, if you are working in an institution which gives you bread and butter, you have an onerous obligation, a responsibility to see that you give returns to the extent that it is deserving. Otherwise, institutions will perish, and therefore they are not. Then we would be in really soup. So therefore, I think this is what I'm telling. Most institutions are wired for mediocrity because that's what it's convenient to us. Because where we can balance with sufficiently personal agenda more than the professional or institutional agenda. So therefore, we need to be very good, and therefore the analysis shows that only 1/3 of the institutions remain good for long, good for long, and great, very few, not even 3 or 4% institutions can climb to be good, great institutions. Now then, how to plan and transform an institution to become great, a brand name continuously? I think this is the challenge that we need to look at from all these points that I was making is see, the transformation is not easy and early. It requires a lot of sacrifice. As I said, the personal agenda versus the institutional and professional agenda. I think this sacrifice. Now, I tell you, Dr. Paroda, one of the very excellent leaders that we had in National Agriculture Research System, once wrote, on account of his experience in the working in the National Agriculture Research System at the helm, wrote, "Change is difficult, but change we must." So that is his point that he made in a contribution that he wrote about 15, 20 pages after undergoing the tremendous pressure that he had to face. And therefore, he wrote that change is a must, but it is difficult. So therefore, this is a message that if we have to plan or transform an institution, then we need to sacrifice. We need to work hard. And this is what is the biography of many great people who had built the institutions, who had led the institutions for long, who have remained icons. For example, you said that ICAR-NIAP. It was a music for me to listen to. Your sentiments and tributes to Dr. ICAR-NIAP in terms of his contributions to build agriculture and agricultural university in KU in your state. So such people, if you go into the depth of their biography, you will find such sacrifice, many such sacrifices in their life. I'm just telling, I'm really visualizing. I do not know much about his family ways, but definitely I'm sure that anybody who works in that passion definitely undergoes all those turmoils at the family level. Maybe they are necessary because he commits, his passion commits, and therefore he works. Now, and then another point which I would immediately say, excellence today is not guarantee for excellence tomorrow. Even superstars burn out. This is an example that we see many times in cinema and serials. So therefore it is often said, success is not a milestone that we have reached and therefore we can be complacent about. Success is not a milestone, but a race for perfection. It is a race. We need to pursue it for many years. Perfection is not one which we can attain at any stage. Perfection is a mirage. And therefore it changes. Perfection is something which is not realizable in a real sense. So therefore, for example, I tell you that if you have selected a lane for your driving 70 kilometers per hour, you have to continue the speed in that lane if you want to remain in that lane. If you slow down, then the previous vehicle comes and then pushes you around. So therefore, you are bound by maintaining that speed. Then otherwise you have to change the lane, which of course costs you heavily. In terms of not maintaining the time and so many other things associated with changing the lane. I'm just giving you an example of how this is a continuous race for perfection. There is no single point in which you get complacent and then get satisfied that you have contributed to kind of being a good institution, contributing to build a good institution. It's an endless process of race for perfection. Now, the external push as I told you, this is already explained, external push in terms of pressures, both peer pressure, I tell you, luck sometimes. A godfather, for example, sometimes would help you to rank your institution well, or give you fund for some institution well, play a minor role, about 30%, as compared to institution specific or in-house strengths or factors like wisdom and vision of people who are working, the leaders they are working, willingness for deep changes, surrendering control, because all these amounts to decentralization, surrendering control. See that your employees get enough powers to see that they work with least difficulties or harassments. So this requires a lot of such changes, surrendering control. So therefore, normally, administrators or leaders would like that power to be centralized because they don't want to surrender control. But that is not the right way to lead an organization. And therefore, if you want these institutions to remain continuously great, these are all things that we need to care about. So my suggestions are just through my experiences, and this is for consideration of all of you. Whichever capacity you are holding, maybe a kind of a scientist, maybe a leader, head of the department, maybe assistant director, maybe director, whoever it is. But I'm telling you, the whole thing amounts to all these things changes. And then you should become a part of this change. Change should begin with you. Don't expect change would begin with him first, and then I would think of changing. No, don't do that. If you do that mistake, then you are mistaken. You cannot expect changes from others unless you get changed yourself. Now, smarter strategy and superior state-of-the-art assets cannot be sure way to acquire competitive edge continuously. I'm just telling, smarter technology, a smarter strategy. For example, Prashant Kishore was hired by many state governments to win elections. But it is all over after the elections is over. Again, they're back to the square by hiring him or hiring another Kishore or some other name. So this is not, a building capacity in-house. Superior state-of-the-art assets, one could acquire by hook or crook, and therefore expect the institution would work. I have seen, in my own experience, people have acquired assets, but they have not opened even the boxes, the gadgets, because they don't have technicians to operate them, the skills to operate them, and therefore they remained heavily, invested equipments in laboratories remaining unused for many years and getting junk. Because we can acquire assets of that nature through some funding or some such gratis. But they are not, provide you competitive edge. A strong passion, in-house performance culture is the surest source of becoming great. I'm just telling these are inevitable, and for which you have to prepare yourself. You have to see that others along with you through your own experience and your modeling. You should serve as a model for others to share this kind of a tradition of culture of becoming owner of the organization in which you are. Now, some principles which I would like to tell about, these are all in a way, maybe some repetitions, but definitely I'm driving at you points that will reinforce my submission to you in terms of emphasizing the kind of internal in-house strengths that need to be built to create a great institution, to continue a great institution for perpetuity. Keep long-term fitness and sustainable high performance as vision, your dream, mission, focus, and priority. I think this is every minute that you would be spending. As I tell you, that, in an institution where you're working, I made a difference between an organization and institution. An institution works for 24/7 time, whereas an organization works for between 10 and 5. So that kind of a passion and commitment, if you do, because even if you go home, you will be having a kind of a backlog of a vision that you have with you, that you would be thinking about it during night even. That means you are working for your institution to see that you are solving problems of tomorrow. When you go to office next day, you would be much prepared to address them better than a person who forgets while going at 10 to 5 and then only comes afresh next day morning at 10. So this is a kind of commitment, this is a kind of an attachment, this is a kind of an ownership that if employees carry with them. I tell you, that is the surest way of making institutions great. Now, overall fitness of an institution is its ability to create alignment, drive, execution, and nurture renewal to sustain performance culture over time. Performance culture indicates employees work with passion to their full potential more often than not, and personal sacrifice many times. I have made this point. I do not want to dwell on it further, but I tell you, these are all attributes that will help you to think about an institution and owning an institution as your own, and see that the institution performs and you get job satisfaction at the end of the day. Having worked in that institution, you would be rewarded with that kind of a job satisfaction, though not in salary. I tell you honestly, salary, if you have consideration that the institution is not giving enough salary to me, and therefore I'm quitting this institution, then you are on a different lane altogether. You have a different lane altogether. But wherever you go, then you feel that you are not getting job satisfaction. Therefore, salary is not the criteria of looking at your kind of a success in life. Now, manage soft fitness, negative employee attitudes, resistance to change. Then these are all things, aspects, soft options, poor relational skills, aspects as rigorously as hard aspects, performance, outdated ideas and technical skills, inadequate resources. All these things have to be managed. So I think these to be managed, in such a way, because the situation now is forcing you to think about these out-of-box solutions and taking out time from your inner self to dwell on it and then spend it so that you would get some clues against each one of them and then contribute to the great of the institution. Not copy, but evolve best management practices yourself in-house by nurturing good management behavior. There are good management behaviors. I would not go into the details that some of which are already come under points earlier mentioned. But definitely I'm telling, copying is not going to help you. In another institution, which was great from your angle, you thought that copying their model would help you to build your institution. No, because your institution provides you a different setup altogether. The people, the mindset, and their commitment, passion, everything is different. That institution is different, and therefore that model which will not work in your case. So that if you have to build your own model, see that where you are in terms of those parameters which are important for an institution to be being good, and see that you attain those milestones in terms of attaining those characters or traditions or culture. Then emphasize leadership. Create role models or champions. Everyone is fully aware of his specific role and think change should begin with me, a point which I already made. Attain execution edge. Maintain end user focus and involvement. I think these are all basic principles of seeing that an institution remains great perpetually. Now, we emphasize leadership, and leadership is one which I emphasize a little more, 1 or 2 minutes more, because I tell you, leadership is very important for an organization to grow continuously. Now, now I would say a leader should embody, empower, and empathize. These are the characters of a good leader. Now, I should also say a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Walk the talk. Something like that, it's so important that, a leadership qualities one should acquire. If one not has, he should acquire immediately. See that he would lead. Otherwise, he would not be a leader, effective leader, and therefore people would not follow him. No, in my own experience in working in council, I have seen leaders. I'm not naming them, but I would try to find out the kind of leaders that I had the fortune to work with. And each one of them had their own ways or styles of working. For example, one leader I found very charismatic, motivational. A great leader, he built institutions, he is remembered forever. Something like that. A charismatic, motivational leader. Then I had another leader, transformational, transactional, minding the business, visionary. The second type of leader I had the fortune to work with. The third leader, another fortune that I had to work with him, is authoritarian, scaring, focusing results only, more, very moody. This is another leader that I had the fortune to work with. And I have worked and then gained in my experience. The last one, there are many, I should say. I have not, they fall in one of those categories. The another one, democratic, humble, meek, modest, humanitarian. This is another set of another set of style. Another great leader has followed to run this show. Now, I cannot judge or pass judgments on any one of them because they're all great leaders. They led the system, and I worked under all of them. But you can very well imagine the kind of leaders that you have, the kind of leaders you should be. Which one you would prefer? Which one would be most convenient or suitable to you to give your best to the institution? Because you have no choice on their styles. You have to work. So therefore, you have to adjust. Change should come with you, within yourself. And therefore, you have to adjust to those styles of leaders. Because you have to work in that institution. Not just work, but contribute to the good or greatness of that institution. So therefore, this is a challenge that each one of us face. Each one of us have a leader, maybe a head of the division, maybe an assistant director, maybe a director, maybe vice chancellor. Each one of us have, and we have to work with them. So therefore, we have to tune ourselves to see that their styles we meet and we turn successful in meeting those styles and then contribute to the greatness of the institution. Then role models and all that. I told you they're all important, and I have already told about them in some details earlier, and therefore I would not like to dwell much on them at this stage because they've already been told in some one or the other way. Now, therefore, the framework for staying on top for long, according to me, is aspire. There are 5 A's: aspire, assess, architect, act, and advance. Now, aspire in that, you should have a vision, a dream destination that you should define. And if we have defined the vision and dream destination where you would like to reach in a time that you have fixed yourself or your leader has fixed, get facts and inputs on fitness, internal fitness, and your performance, both internal and external. So this is kind of collecting data on how to analyze your dream, how to meet your dream, what are those facts that you have with you, how to see that those facts become your advantages. They are become your opportunities. So therefore, this is absolutely important. You cannot start from zero. You have to collect facts about this current situation. The second is assess. Assess those facts. Where do they meet? SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of where we are. Balance sheet of all capabilities. Then you have to find, to prepare a balance sheet of assets and liabilities of your capabilities, your mindset present, mindset of the people present, and needed, which are needed for journey, their journey, institutional journey, strengths to build them, and weaknesses to tackle, and needed changes in your capabilities and mindsets. Both are important. Your research capabilities, your educational capabilities, and your extension capabilities. Your mindset, people's mindsets, all those attributes which I am talking about, where do they stand? And what is needed of changes in them, and how to plan for it. Architect now comes. You are an architecture to design changes, steps to destination, develop short, medium, and long-term initiatives to see that your plan, your destination dream is attained with those assets and liabilities, and your plans to see that those assets would be made use of judiciously. Liabilities are converted into opportunities to see that your dream is reached. Indulge in cultural change, balancing between doing different things and doing things differently. I think this is what you need to do it. For example, doing things, different things. For example, now you arranged Dr. KNS, you wanted to recognize and then remember the contributions of Dr. ICAR-NIAP to the state and to the Agricultural University, KEU. So there were several options, arranging a lecture, you have to do it differently. For example, you have chosen offline and online. Now, online, lecturing, you have chosen. There are critical advantages and disadvantages. Both of them are important. You have to balance between them, doing different things and doing things differently. And both of them have advantages and disadvantages, but you have to balance them so that you get the best out of them. And then the total output is much more than the addition of those two advantages. Something like that you have to work out. For example, I tell you honestly that your sudden change in the timing, the timing of this lecture, if it were to be offline, it would not have been simply possible for me to reach Kerala by the time. But since it was online, I could immediately say yes to you. So this is the clear advantage of doing business differently. So I think I'm just giving you an example of how you need to manage the show when you have all these challenges working with you, or you have to address them simultaneously. Now, then it comes question of acting, manage change. Now it is the question of implementation of your plan. You have You have aspired, you have assessed, you have architected the design and all that. Now you have to act to see that your plan gets implemented. Manage change dynamically. It in terms of orders. You do this, you do this. This is one way of doing it. The second way, you have to select that also as one of your mode to act. You order people to act. The second one is marketing. You motivate them to work. It's a kind of an informal selling tactics, campaigns, and constantly monitor and evaluate progress, pursue follow-up. I think these are all ways in which you would be acting about plan that you have prepared to reach the destination, the dream. The last one is, of course, you cannot remain there itself. You have to advance further, moving forward and remaining on top for long with centered leadership. A centered leadership which includes intelligence collection, toleration for changes, desire to lead, communication skills, positive thinking, connecting, engaging, resilience, belonging. All these are attributes again to see that you advance continuously over time to maintain your edge, the institutional edge that you have. It is a brand name. It is an institutional edge you have got after toiling for years to see that KU should remain as a brand name in the setup of agricultural universities in the state as well as in India, for example. As I told you that in the agricultural university research system ranking, the institutions which appear often, for example, NDRI, Kernel, for the last 3 ranking systems, it remained on the top for 3 years continuously. IRI fluctuated. In 2 years, it was the 2nd rank, and 3rd year, Punjab Agriculture University came up as the 2nd rank. So like this, but they are within the band of 5 institutions. Within 5 institutions, they are there. Now, can you think of attaining that level of attaining excellence and remain in that band and see that even institution is recognized as a great institution? I think this is the challenge that you need to think about, introspect yourself. Whether can you work for providing an institutional edge to KAU to come up with this kind of a ranking in this year's 2020 ranking? If not, 2021 ranking. Because if you have, it's now only to give the data of the previous year, you may not have time to think about it. But I would be happier because if I live, if I remain alive, I will be seeing your rank next year and also next. Because I was seeing your ranking earlier while coming to this lecture. I would be continuously seeing it, whether this lecture has any impact on any one of you or some of you or many of you. The only indication is if you reach a higher level within 10 or within 5, possibly I feel satisfied. I think that I have worked for this kind of a lecture, and I feel my success. My lecture was a success in some sense. Apart from paying a tribute to my friend Dr. K.N.S. Nair, which I feel is a great success for me because I have got a rare opportunity to pay tribute to him, and I'm very happy about it. That is a success. That at least I had the privilege, and by virtue of the work that I did earlier, you did not. For example, you would not have called me if I were to be below 50%. In other words, I would have satisfied with 60% of my personal agenda while executing work in ICR. Possibly it helped me to get your attention to invite me to this lecture on account of, I tell you honestly, this is what gives dividends in the long run. I'm not great in terms of getting a salary which is so well in any sense, but definitely this satisfaction that I would I have been called to give a tribute to a person that I love most, I respect most. Possibly it is a reward for my kind of commitment to the system and commitment to all of you. Now, conclusions. I think I will take another 10 minutes to completely conclude the lecture that I have tried to communicate with you. Institutions trigger agricultural prosperity, sustainable agricultural development, and societal welfare. This is a statement that I have been laboring hard to convey you that institutions are more important than the individuals, or individuals are more important than the institutions. Both are important. So therefore, because I have seen organizations or institutions are remembered for their goal and achieving that goal, but not the people behind who have made those institutions great. They would be forgotten. This is also not good. Now, for example, I'm extremely happy that you are remembering Dr. K.N.S. Nair continuously for the last 16 years. Because you feel the person has contributed through his head and heart to the growth and the greatness of this institution, KAU. So therefore, I think if we can attain a kind of a recognition of this nature, I think we should aim in our life that we should get recognized by our work and thoughts than by connections we have, by godfathers we have, and made us great in the system. So therefore, institutions trigger agricultural prosperity. And as I said, now that a very crucial time has come to KAU to play a major role in the kind of a reorganized setup the state government is contemplating. It is not easy. I have given some thoughts as to if the agriculture in Kerala is to be reorganized in terms of agroecological zones, how much it has implications for work of agricultural universities in the state. Apart from aligning with a national education policy where, even institutions, multidisciplinary institutions, several other things are being talked about. So therefore, tuning yourself to the new setup that is emerging and the new challenges that is immediately coming up now for you in the state to align with the state, the development objectives of the state, to become a partner in agricultural development reorganizations, structural and functional reorganization, I think you have to do a lot of homework before you become a worthy partner in developing this kind of a framework. They have to be at the top for long, but only about 1/3 can do, not for resources, but employee passion, commitment, and self-sacrifice. I think I underline these things more than the resources. Resources somehow, because I never felt, because people have come to me telling that I don't get resource funds, research funds. Then I said that when I ask for invite projects which need to be funded, no worthy projects came, and then it took 1.5 years, 2 years to start NIAP in full swing, because there are no worthy projects coming up. Because we are not capable of thinking about kind of a perspective on agriculture, and therefore put up a project proposal to be worthy of being selected. So therefore, I'm just telling, these are all important. Passion, commitment, self-sacrifice, they are extremely important. I underline them time and again. Internal and external pressures, inability to adjust, adjust changes, make them mediocre, unstable in performance, eventually become redundant and decay. I think this is the growth stage of an institution. Growth, the birth, growth, stagnation, decay, and vanish. So something like that should not. Whether you would like to think about closure, or revival or a new institution. Because all these are options that the planners or policymakers would be thinking. That institution has not delivered what it was intended to, for which we have established this institution. Then they will think of options, because we have done it at the council. The closure, whether it should be revived, which one is best option, whether it can, I think it is not at all important. I think we cannot revive this institution, and therefore we have to think of a new institution. This is the most easiest one. So therefore, institutions remain and they would be languishing. And then the institutions, the people working there would be suffering. And we have seen several institutions of that nature, because having missed the timeline, missing the kind of challenges that they have become redundant. Strong fitness and performance culture are keys to maintain excellence and brand name. I think a point which I have already made, I'm re-emphasizing them in my conclusion. The mantra for transformation consists of 5 A's: aspire, assess, architect, act, and advance. I think these are all kind of a 5 A's which need to be kept in view while planning for transformation. While planning for transformation to be on the top forever, perpetuity. Transformation is never ending. I'm just telling you, I told you a kind of a saying that success is not the milestone, it is a race for perfection all the time. New challenges come, transformation again and again required. Institutions have to remain alert, quickly and continuously adjust to remain on top forever. Because otherwise, the message is perform and perform for long. Otherwise, if you do not perform, then you are bound to perish. You will be declared as redundant. And on account of funding pressure, on account of pressure, competitive pressure from peer institutions, new institutions coming and sharing your agenda, then you would be nowhere left, and you would feel humiliated, professionally, and therefore you would be subdued for all times to come. So therefore, I tell you, I think the clear message is that making institutions good or great is in your hand. Because I am telling you in your hand, because you are the future leaders as well. You may be working at this time as a lecturer or an assistant professor, but you are all budding leaders in your own time. So therefore, this kind of a message is important to be carried and nurtured, to see that where you get your bread and butter should be rewarded, should be returned with dividends commensurate with that kind of a gesture from the institution, from the government, from the public exchequer. Because ultimately, it is the people's money that is coming to you. You are accountable to the people at large. If you are not accountable in doing your work sincerely, with passion and commitment, possibly you are not doing justice to the paymaster. The paymaster, I tell you, eventually is the farmer, the consumer of the country. So therefore, the exchequer of this country. So therefore, my suggestion to you to consider them. I'm not telling that you should take them all, in a sense that they are mantras. But definitely, this is my experience which I am sharing. I have seen institutions who have been nearer to following them are much better off than those who are not following them in this perspective. Because I have no vested interest in telling you that this path is the best. This pathway is the best. because this is a path that most of the institutions, good institutions, have traveled and then got dividends. Those who could not travel on account of their own weaknesses, of several types that I was talking about and described you about, came in the way, and therefore they are languish for support and recognition. And if the institution do not get recognition, you would be doomed. Your future would be doomed, because if you apply for a post in an institution outside, they will ask you which institution you served. And if you say that an institution which is at the lower rung of their recognition, oh, you served in that institution, then they have a different opinion about you. For example, if you serve in an institution of reckoning, then they say, oh, you served in such an institution. Must be, without going into the details of your merit and other credentials, they would judge, oh, he is from IRI, he is from KU, something like that. You should be proud of your institutions to see that you get strength on account of your institutional strength everywhere in your future. So therefore, the legacy of building an institution should be carried by its people, the workers, the staff, and the leaders. Then you can enjoy the fruits throughout your life on account of this. Now, we have seen this. This is usual with all of us. For example, if you worked with a guide who is known for his professional contributions, people would recognize, oh, you worked under such a guide for your MSc thesis, for your PhD thesis. Great. So you would have a kind of a better preference as compared to a person who has worked under another person who has not such a recognition, in professionally. So therefore, these are all things that I'm talking about as examples that it has worked in my life, which I am sharing it with you, so that if you consider them as important, you take it, otherwise leave it. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my random thoughts on the subject of my liking and my passion, because I always feel that we should build institutions because they are the only vehicles for delivering development gains to the people. And if they do not, because if they are sick, then we are ourselves sick. And you cannot say the institution is sick and say that I am healthy. No, it is not so. Then if you are healthy, if your institution is sick, then your personal agenda is more. You have given importance than your institution. That is the real test of how you can remain healthy if your institution is sick. So thanks a lot. I thank you. I thank the Vice Chancellor. I thank the Director of Research. I thank Binu,
with whom I took the liberty of communicating with her. In terms of several communications that I had with this lecture, as well as some earlier professional communications. So thanks a lot to all of you, and particularly Binu for that matter. Thanks a lot, and I thank all the people who are present in this for patient listening. And if time permits, I can answer some queries, including personal queries on me. If you have any audit to be made on my personal attainments, you are most welcome. So with these words, I close the lecture, and I enjoyed speaking to you because my remembrance, my thanks to the family of Dr. K.N.S. Nair, late K.N.S. Nair. I have not seen them, but I have great respects for him because he was very, very important VIP student of the economics department, IRI, and people still remember. They stay in the department and his work in the department. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya.
Thank you very much, sir. It is
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya, for
Oh, no,
a
it is my
very,
pleasure.
very informative lecture, which is devoted to late Shyamasundara Nair sir. Actually, I had a very personal relation with him. It is important that I mention here. He was with M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation in
Yes,
Chennai
exactly. Yes.
after coming from FAU. So I was in Chennai and the professor introduced me to Shyamasundar Nair sir. Later, he was secretary Kerala Agriculture Commission. It's a very good document. I think that document is there in the library. You should keep it. Center for Gender Concern. You should keep it. That's a very good document. Now my question is to Professor. That is, we have received two papers. One is from Deepak Pendal, former Vice Chancellor, Delhi University, and then another paper from Dr. R.S. Paroda. He was our respected Director General. And the common title is Challenges of Indian Agriculture. Challenges of Indian Agriculture post-COVID, basically. Now, the point which has been mentioned, I will only summarize and I will send to Professor Mruthyunnjaya. If he has not received, I think they have sent to all fellows of National Academy of Science and also National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Parada sir has sent and Deepak Pendal has asked me also to make a comment. Now in all this, what they say, what is important is purchasing power. Production, we always say we have produced more. We say that India is glutted with paddy, wheat and horticulture crops. Now horticulture, they say 320 million. But the tragedy is the world's largest anemic women. Why I say I am excluding men? Because this is Center for Gender Concern. They should be more concerned about the health of women. And they say 60-65% are anemic. And the child mortality is the highest. Now why all these? All these are due to very inadequate intake of fruits, vegetables, and biofortified cereals, which Professor Swaminathan sir calls nutri-cereals. So it is important that purchasing power of people are raised. And those who are going to agriculture now, estimate is something like 70%. They should come back to 45, and the other they should go for much earning things. So I request Professor Mruthyunnjaya sir to make a comment on this aspect. How to have more purchasing power. You see, salaried people, we are only 5%. Only 5% we are comfortable even in COVID period because for me I get pension, for others they get a salary. Yes, but very negligible it is, very negligible. But majority are suffering and suffering and suffering and low purchasing power. So sir, I will send you these three papers have come yesterday. I have sent to one. I have sent to Dr. Prasad, our professor of agricultural extension. So I have sent him for comment. For others also, I have sent Dr. Uma and all those places just to see how it is. So my humblest request to Professor Mruthyunnjaya is how to increase purchasing power of our people.
Thanks, Dr. Peter. And I have also these papers with me. I have read Dr. Paravoda's paper. Dr. Pentel's paper also I have received yesterday, and I couldn't read it much. But I just glanced through it and then found, yes, they're all important. And I said, all of them are telling about, I think Pentel is more emphasizing on improving the research efficiency in the research system And more funding for agriculture research is important because it is starved. Agriculture is starved on account of lack of funding. And both of them are both those points are absolutely important. But I having been in the system, having seen some time, when the resources were not constraints, but these constraints of improving the research efficiency and also raising funds, in terms of competitive funding, all made me feel that yes, I think we need to emphasize they are important, but besides them, we need to emphasize also on the purchasing power, which we are talking about, because that is the subject matter of all of us. We have worked, we have learned, we have got training in seeing that how purchasing power can be improved, in terms of purchasing power, in terms of buying inputs, costly inputs, because input costs are increasing enormously. And to maintain productivity, buying inputs becomes absolutely necessary. So therefore, purchasing power has to be increased by giving, providing both kind of a public support, public system, because as I was making a mention in my lecture on changing or reorienting Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare of the Kerala Agriculture Department is in fact is intended to see that the system becomes enabled to deliver timely inputs, quality inputs to the people, to the farmers, and they can buy costly inputs well in time and of right quality. Now, I think another way in which the government also is thinking about is the marketing reforms. The marketing reforms in looking at the reorientation of the agricultural produce markets, and also enabling farmers to organize themselves in terms of farmer producer organizations or companies. So it is some kind of an empowerment, collective empowerment, for enabling farmers to enjoy economies of scale in buying inputs and selling outputs. So, and then minimizing the involvement of intermediaries, of a huge number, so that the cost of marketing is reduced significantly, and that kind of a consumer's rupee, a lot of a major part of it is passed on to the farmers to get higher income. So therefore, these are all multiple ways. But I'm just telling you, which I'm still I always emphasize this. These are all kind of a policies, programs, rhetorics, and all that. They will not on their own deliver the kind of development gains like purchasing power improvement. They need to be done by the institutions involved in their own mandated areas of work. So for example, purchasing power is to be improved in terms of strengthening the farmers' organizations, at the grassroots level. Now, grassroots level functioning requires support from the government, and also now in terms of public-private partnership. I think these are all ways in which we need to empower institutions deliver services and support to the farmers so that their income gets increased or their cost gets reduced. And that's how the purchasing power gets influenced. But it all depends upon how these institutions play their role at the grassroots level. Now, my experience with these institutions is that for several reasons, they have their own reasons, because I have seen a review of institutions who are working at the grassroots level, their strengths and weaknesses in terms of the working conditions, the kind of burden, the administrative burden that they are given with to comply with, and then they do all kinds of work other than their mandated jobs. They do not have time to do that. For example, I'm talking about, we have reviewed this KV case for that matter. The one which, I came across, where several of them feel they are overburdened with non-mandated activities. So the real mandated activities suffer on account of non-mandated activities, and therefore they are disillusioned. And they cannot deliver those gains which are supposed to be provided by them. And therefore, the expected output suffers. So therefore, I think we need to look at these, what are called vehicles of delivery. The delivery deficit is met by improving our work, our commitment, and we are provided with support and services to do this job fairly. I mean, this is a very quick answer. There is no single answer to give you on a kind of a solution to this problem. But definitely, I feel involving right institutions and in improving their work culture, in institutional efficiencies, possibly the intentions of the new acts, the intentions of new initiatives like formation of 10,000 producer cooperative organizations or farmer producer organizations are all well intended. On paper, they are very fine in interventions, but they have to work on course. If we are not, then again, we cannot expect any change at the grassroots, and therefore the problem remains the same. So therefore, I should say the onus lies with each one of us. As I said, the change should occur within me first, and then expect others to change. And so therefore, this is because I, in a little humble way, I did this. You change yourself, and if it is possible, you change one more along with you. That is your contribution to the society. You cannot expect society to change immediately and in a large way, but start changing your neighbor, in your person with whom you work. That itself is a contribution to the society. Yes, sir. I'm through.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Can I take a few queries from the chat box?
Yes. You just, yeah, I think as long as if time permits for you and time, I have time, no problem.
Okay. So winning the confidence of all the participants in the institution is required, and the leaders should be able to show this. Dr. Prema has requested for your remarks.
No, I think the charity should begin at home. My emphasis in the lecture is that you change yourself. You become an acceptable leader in all sense. Now, as I can give you the example of Dr. ICAR-NIAP, the way in which you listen to him, you listen to his philosophy, you listen to his work. As I said, somebody was, I think, Jyoti, I don't know who is, that he used to visit workplaces and then understand their problems and then try to solve them there itself, or coming back and then trying to solve them. That, it gives an impression that you feel you are at home in terms of sharing your difficulties and getting it resolved. And here is a person who resolves your problems. He has an empathy, lot of empathy for you to help you perform well, better than earlier. I think this is the way to win, because that's how I tried my level best to see that to the extent that you can share the work and then expect others to also share, and you share the work total agenda yourself or partly to the extent that time permits and your resources permit. Do that, show the way. So because in a leader, I told you, I'll repeat it. He knows the way, he goes the way, and he shows the way. And then you will accept only such people as leaders. Otherwise, no, of course, he's an he would be accepted as a boss, but not boss in the real sense to give your best to the institution. Then you would not be giving. That much is my conviction. No, I think you would not be giving it. And that is not fair on my part to expect in that case that I am not empathizing with you. I'm not taking you into confidence and I share, because you give a feeling that even he may be a peon in the setup. A peon has an onerous job to do. He's one of the main links in the supply chain of delivering service of the institution to the clients. If a peon does not work, the chain is broken. And therefore, he is important. Show that importance, appreciation, that you are a part of the total output. And you are a part of output of the society. If you don't do that, possibly the output would be shortened or lessened to that extent. A peon is very important from my perspective, that respect him, though he does such a menial job, but that job is very, very important for the institution to perform and others to perform. If he is not performing, then others get affected on account of his mandated jobs. So therefore, give importance to his job, respect him for his share, and then win his heart. I tell you, it's winning the hearts of the people through your own, you as a role model in every respect. So this is my mantra for winning the hearts of the people, and then you can earn anything. They will contribute to the maximum.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a lot of comments and thoughts in the chat box, imbibing the ideas you have presented. But for want of time, I think we'll go to the next, that is, vote of thanks session. Thank you very much, sir, for the enlightening words and for opening before us a vivid picture on ways to move forward as an institution. May I now request Dr. Binupi Boni, Professor and Project Coordinator, Center for Gender Studies in Agriculture and Farm Entrepreneurship Development, to propose a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. This distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya sir, respected Director of Research KAU, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya sir, beloved Dr. Jyoti ma'am, Associate Director of Research, Dr. Geetakutti ma'am, Dr. Rashid Sulaiman, Dr. Peter sir, Director of Extension, Dr. Jiju PLX, Director Planning, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, other officers of the university, respected family members of Dr. KNS, faculty members, colleagues, and my dear friends. It's indeed a privilege to place on record the heartfelt appreciation and thanks of Kerala Agriculture University and Center for Gender Studies to all who have made that first lecture of Dr. KNS Memorial Endowment Lecture Series a memorable one. At the onset, let me extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation of all at Kerala Agriculture University to our distinguished speaker for the day, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya sir. A leading scholar in agriculture development policy in the country, his learned insight on a topic of contemporary importance, especially when KU is celebrating the Golden Jubilee year, has been profound to generate new ideas. I'm sure that will guide KU in its pursuit of excellence in higher agriculture, higher education. Thank you, sir, for being so generous with your time and resources, even accommodating our last minute requests. Thank you, sir. I may also wish to record our heartfelt thanks to respected Director of Research, KU, Dr. Mruthyunnjaya sir, for inaugurating and addressing this event despite his hectic schedule. Thank you, sir, for being here and leading us from the front as always. I would also thank our beloved Associate Director of Research, Dr. Jyoti ML, for welcoming the audience and introducing the guests. I fondly remember your guidance in arranging the event. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. We are also grateful to all the dignitaries here who have graced the occasion with their participation that include respected officers of the university, staff, faculty members, and all my dear students. It is indeed your presence that made this event a success. Family members of Dr. KNS, sir, of former Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.V. Peter, sir, and Dr. Geeta Kuti, ma'am, who headed the Center for Gender Studies for quite a long time and was the former registrar of KU, has been associating with, they were all associating with the program ever since its inception. Your presence is greatly valued and we thank you all for the continued support. Our sincere thanks are also due to our Dean, Dr. Anita Cherian ma'am, for leading and supporting us all through. On a formal note, let me also thank my colleagues at the Center for Gender Studies and Department of Agriculture Extension, especially Dr. Smita, Dr. Deepthi Antony, Dr. Lokesh, Akhilajit, and Santi for sharing the responsibilities in arranging the program. It was a pleasure working with you all. Thank you. The next lecture in the series will be on 17th July 2021, and look forward to all your continued support. Once again, thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Special thanks to all our beloved distinguished guests once again. Thank you. Over to Deepthi.
Thank you, madam.
So
In the
thanks
first
a lot to everyone. Peter, Rashid, Binu, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rashid.
To continue, please.
Thank you.
How is your daughter?
Doing well. Yet to go to Bombay because of the lockdown. 2 semesters over already online.
Okay.
But maybe this semester they will call her.
Okay, good. She's a great hope.
Thank you, Dr. Rashid.
Thank you, Binu.
Binuji, how are you?
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
Nice interacting with you, and then very.
It was a well appreciated presentation, sir. Most of our students and faculty have shown great appreciation and insight to the insights you have presented. I think they will take it forward.
No, I think
it has touched them.
That's what I tell him. The success of my lecture would only be reflected, next year or next to that, because KU has come out. For the last 50 years, it's a great milestone of an institution, and I have a lot of admiration. Congratulations to all of you who have taken pains to build this institution. And therefore, I would be much happier if KU improves its ranking, because I tell you honestly, I'm involved in ranking. So therefore, I would be watching. The ranking of you, the KIU for that matter, and where it will be, if I remain alive, I would be seeing it, because this year you cannot do it because you cannot immediately change the data. But next year you can contribute to changes. But my humble request to you, whoever is compiling the information for this ranking, business, take it seriously, because I have seen people are not taking seriously, missing so much of information and then giving all kinds of irrelevant information. But take it seriously because you are ranked. You are ranked. So therefore, I find pity that cheaply they miss, very cheaply. Okay. Though they have strength, but they cannot communicate well, factually. But don't do that mistake. You can tell this to your vice chancellor or whoever is the coordinator to provide data to this ranking system setup. Let them take it seriously. But of course, you cannot change the data. I'm just telling, take it seriously to fill in the right information you have with you. That itself is a great because I've seen people missing it on account of not filling the right data. Okay. And therefore, they have no other go but to ignore that data. So obviously, you'll be missing the entire marks. So don't do that. So this is my tips
We'll
to
take
you.
care of it, sir.
I'm not supposed to share this information, but I've shared it because of my commitment to you, KU, now at this moment. But see that it gets done. I would be much more happier to see that your ranking improves from 19th to below 10 this year. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All the best, Rashid.
We will try for that, sure.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful session.
Okay, bye.
We have now come to the end of the inaugural session and the first lecture in the 16th Dr. K.N. Shyamasundran Nair Memorial Endowment Lecture Series on Organizational and Social Development. The organizers thank all the participants who joined us today for a great beginning, and we hope to see you all in the upcoming lectures in this series. Thank you all once again. Thank you very much and stay safe.
Thank you.
Rashid.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.